everybody. I am Matt Shouse. Talking to you all the way from San Antonio, and I got my friend here, Joel Yount, and so excited to have him to be a guest and to really talk about him and his ministry and what God is doing in his life. And I just want everyone to experience and hear what God's doing. And so I wanted to share this all with you. So hopefully you'll enjoy this. If you make sure you write down, if you hit the like button, share it with other people. Let us know, what you think. Comment. Make sure that you let us know and encourage us to continue to do what God has called us to do for such a time as this. And I also just want to put on there just before we get started. If you guys are at a place where, if you need some filtering for your for your internet, for your kids, make sure you put on there freefiltering.org and then / and pound and then my name on there, and or you can contact them. It is such a wonderful ministry to help people, especially children, protect them from all the not so good stuff. So I just wanted to put that plug in there. Another friend of mine that we interviewed, and it's just one wonderful ministry. Well, Joel, tell me about where are you from, and what's God doing in your life?
Yeah, I'm from Hagerstown, Maryland, and about 2 years ago, I really began to make a shift in some things. Obviously, when COVID broke out, it shifted a lot of people in different areas where they had to kind of overnight make a jump to some new things. And one early morning I began to check my email, and COVID was really breaking out. It was getting ugly. Things were not looking good. And I received a prophetic word from someone in Australia who had been following me for a number of years now. And they said, Joel, I see you in a studio interviewing people, on camera. And I'll be honest, I kind of just laughed it off a little bit because, number one, I didn't have any cameras at the time. I don't do media. I'm kind of in the behind the scenes person. I like to be kind of quiet behind the scenes. I don't like to be like out in the open. Right. And a couple weeks went by, and it felt like the Lord kept prompting me to go back and reread that prophetic word that I had received. And I just say, okay, Lord, if this is truly you, you're going to have to do some things, because I don't know the first step on how to interview people or do media. And it was literally 24 hours later, I received 3 or 4 invitations to speak different places online, different people's podcasts. There was even an in-person event that I got invited to, which at the time, that was kind of new. I wasn't speaking anywhere. And so the Lord really began to confirm that word back in 2020 that I had received. And so just stepping out by faith, and God has been connecting me with people in the prophetic. And I don't know about you, but I'm someone who loves to track what's going on in prophecy right now, in the hour we're living in. I love this past 4 weeks. I felt like it's been a roller coaster, because the past 3 or 4 guests that I have had on my program, it's called the Joel Yount program on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and YouTube and Rumble. They have been talking about the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And, it's just amazing that it's like we're tracking things before they take place in the natural. And there's something that just happened in the state of Georgia yesterday or today, I believe, that it's going viral right now. Something about some monuments that have fallen or toppled over, and it's just this thing about tracking with the prophets right now. There's even prophecy taking place that was prophesied last year that is now coming to pass this year. And it's just so fun. I enjoy it. I don't even look at it like, oh, we got to do another show this week. It's just, I love diving into that and dissecting what God is saying and how it relates to our lives today. And to be honest with you, I feel like there's a lot of young people in the younger generation right now. They feel often disconnected from the church world because they're not seeing things happen in our world today as it relates to prophecy, prophetic words. And I feel like I'm seeing with feedback and emails that I'm getting, I'm hearing things like, wow, you're talking about things that God is doing in real time. And so we see God moving in this area of our life right now. And it's just, it makes people begin to believe who maybe no longer attend a church anymore, or have been offended or taken aback by some things. It really shows them, okay, God is real and he's really speaking today. And, God has commissioned us with authority to pray like never before at this time in history for America and the nations of the world, because our prayer has power, and we begin to see things change. And this thing with Roe v. Wade, I personally believe, is just the beginning. I think I think the rest of this year, in fact, we're going to even see a bigger roller coaster ride begin to unfold. We truly haven't seen anything yet, I believe.
Well, it's interesting that there's also this is going on, and there's like these domino effects, like you were talking about. And once it started, there's these domino effects. But there's also there's signs in the heavens that's been that we've been seeing lately as well, and just miracles that are taking place as well. And it's really interesting that these words that are coming out, and we're just, it's like, forget the news, man. This is what God is doing right here, right now, and He's revealing His plan, His majesty, and His glory within the church today. And it's like an exhilarating roller coaster ride. It's exciting, and it's time for us to get on board and press on and to see what God is doing. So you are where are you located at?
I'm in Hagerstown, Maryland, and the past 4 or 5 months, God has been opening doors to speak in person, and different programs, television doors are now opening. And at the beginning of the year, I made a note of something. I was telling someone on their podcast how I felt like 2022 was really a year when people were going to be greater aligned with people that they were supposed to be with. And I got to tell you, I have seen that happen like never before this year. And it has nothing to do with trying to make things happen, or, there's some things God does call us to do on our part, to fulfill His prophetic promises for each of our lives. But I just believe, and I've heard from other intercessors, in fact, that this year, 2022, there was going to be God was unplugging people from certain places and plugging them back in to areas where they were aligned with the right people to make some things happen. And I'm beginning to see that more and more. And a lot of us, a word I just released this past Sunday, after church. I was taking a walk in a mall, and I don't know about you, but I don't know about you, Matt, but sometimes the Lord begins to highlight things in the natural realm where God is actually speaking if we take a pause and take time to look and listen. And literally, as soon as I walk into the mall this past Sunday, I see this giant sign. You'd have to be blind to miss it. It said, "Invisible no more." Invisible no more. And this is what I felt the Lord begin to download and say. So I'm just going to read this here, what I released on social media Sunday. While walking at the mall after church today, one of the first things that captured my attention was a giant sign that said the words "invisible no more." More and more in the natural, I have been seeing people I know come out of a cycle of isolation and launching into a season of promotion that only God could create. Where the enemy has tried to hide and keep you in cycles of isolation and depression, the Lord is now shattering those cycles and declaring invisible no more. You were born for such a time as this. And Matt, a lot of times what we see even in the news that has taken place with these terrible shooting tragedies that we continue to see unfold in America month after month, it seems. One of the common characteristics of these people who are committing these horrendous crimes is they're looking back over their history, and they're picking up on a history of isolation. They isolate themselves from the world. They create this place of hurt, like we're not going to allow anyone into our lives right now. And the longer someone begins to do that, it creates a landing strip for the enemy to come in. And so they begin to receive thoughts from the enemy that creates this mindset where the demonic now gets involved, and they begin to plant ideas and strategy. And so this is something where, it's not just they call them feel-good words, invincible no more. Right. It kind of sounds like just a feel-good word. However, the deeper you look at this, it really begins to examine in detail what the enemy's camp has been doing to so many people, where isolation kicks in and they begin to commit these horrendous crimes, and the enemy begins to get credit for all of that. And so the Lord wants to begin to pull people out of this isolation zone where those thoughts of, oh, nobody likes me, nobody talks to me, those thoughts that a lot of us go through. The Lord,
I think was it like there was a saying that back in my day where I was going, no one likes me, everybody hates me, I'm going down the cellar, eat worms, or something like that. Yeah. And it's like, no, that is a lie from the pit of hell. Yeah. And no, I refuse that and walk in what you've called me to do for such a time as this. It's about releasing the destiny in people's lives. So yeah, that's awesome.
And a lot of times when we experience a situation where we feel left out or we feel isolated in a group or a gathering, sometimes it really doesn't have anything to do with us. Maybe the people that we come in contact that might not display any kind of greeting gesture or warm welcome, maybe the Lord wants us to reach out to them and show them love. And so this is all coming back to the Lord reminding us of our place of identity, who we are in God. We are sons of God. We are daughters of God. And as we begin to remember that, that whole mindset of isolation that the enemy tries to trap people in goes away, because really we're called to be the light of the world. It's not always people's job to make us feel happy. We have to be the ones that carry the light to the world, to other people, to reveal the Father, for them to see Jesus in us. And so it's really this shift in our thinking from, I feel left out, nobody talks to me. But when we go back to remembering who we are in the Lord, it's hard for the enemy to kind of break in and alter that. And so that's so key, I believe, for this time we're in right now.
Yeah. And now tell us a little bit more. God has given you a book to write, and tell us a little more about this book that you've written, and share with what it's about.
Yeah, I recently released this book. It's called Speaking Life to the Nation. And, the end of last year, I just began to write down on paper prayers and declarations for specific things in the nation. The border crisis that we hear about, our schools, public figures and celebrities, those in authority, those in government, in Congress, prayer warriors, those in law enforcement. They carry a big weight, a big responsibility. And, I began to put these writings together in a book. And, this phrase just came to me one day. The Lord spoke and said, speaking life to the nation. Right now, we are hearing so much garbage and negativity about our nation, even in the news media right now. Just people putting others down, and this sentiment of hopelessness. And for years I grew up watching cable news. It was the thing that I watched. I didn't watch all these other shows. I was glued to Fox News, CNN, and all the cable news channels, and I would hear what all they each had to say. But I never took time to really rise up and begin to pray for things I heard about. And I feel like that's a huge thing missing right now, is a lot of people, they're absorbing what they're hearing in the news. But we need to remember, when we hear something, whether it's about those in Congress, a law that's going to be passed, we need to go to the Lord and rise up in prayer and decree things according to His plans and purposes. And so if we hear something that's contrary to God's agenda, we need to rise up in our prayer life right now and begin to say, no, Lord, this is something that you may not want on your agenda. And so we are going to call forth the opposite, and we're going to speak life into the God-given plans and the solutions that are on your heart in this hour. And so it's just really a...
Joel, let me ask you this. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Let me ask you this real quick. Someone will say that, okay, Joel, I have not prayed. I have not done anything. I mean, I pray like, oh God, help our nation. Mm-hmm. I prayed, help this and help that. But really, how do I begin to pray like how you pray? How do I engage myself at that level? Well, I don't hear it as much in my sphere of influence, someone may say, but how do I engage? I look at myself and say, oh my gosh, here's this young man praying, and I haven't been praying. Yeah. So what do we do? How do we begin?
That's a great question. I would recommend everyone, and this is just like a general thing, find one or two key prayer partners who are really exuberant and excited about things in the Lord. They hear prophetically. They don't just pray this or that. They really hear from the Lord and begin to pray and decree out of what they're hearing. Prophetic declarations. I got to tell you, that was the first thing that really, I would say, catapulted me into an exciting lifestyle of prayer. I think it's, for most people, it's one thing to always attend church their entire life. All of us, we all can attend church, but until every single day we begin to establish a prayer altar with the Lord, I think that the prayer altar is what begins to shift things in our life. And so what do I mean by that? Well, it means dedicated time every day with the Lord. And so, not just praying about personal things we want to see happen, but taking the position where you're saying, Lord, I want to see your agenda established in the nation on a greater level than I'm seeing right now. And so we begin to rise up and say, Lord, I decree and I declare that you establish and put forth godly people on my local school board, in my local schools, those in authority in my local city council. Establish godly voices in those key arenas right now, so your plans and purposes can come forth at an accelerated pace. And so when we begin to put God's agenda above our agenda, I have seen things begin to shift in my life. And so, for example, instead of praying for a half hour or a full hour about what I want to see happen, I would spend a majority of time praying for the nation, things I hear about in the media, and say, Lord, they're saying this, but we're going to decree and declare this instead, the opposite. And it's been a real game changer, not just on the local level for people and intercessors. I know intercessors in my area that one, in fact, I got to tell you this, one is a leader of a shofar army in our area, and they visit local landmarks, different places. Like, for example, we have a battlefield in our area, and there's some historic monuments in the battlefield, and God spoke to them to take the shofar army there and blow the shofars as a prophetic act and declaration. And they began to see things shift and see things change. And so this is really about taking authority in where you are. A lot of people think that to be used by God, they have to always go on a missions trip overseas and get a passport and raise $10,000. But sometimes the Lord is first calling us to an assignment in our own city. What is it in your own city right now that you would like to see shifted and that you would like to see changed? Every city in the nation right now needs help, needs prayer. And so God is calling us right now to intercede for our cities first, because as a lot of people, they always want to go to another country to do God's work. But I'll be honest with you, right now in our own nation, we need missionaries in our own nation right now to help with things. And so I just encourage people watching today, ask the Lord what you can do in our nation first, because there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of things that need prayer. And one of the things I keep hearing people say about this book, it's not just information printed on pages. It's actually application. It's giving people a springboard to begin to decree and declare life over key issues like the border crisis and our local schools right now, the shootings that are taking place. Now more than ever, we need to speak life and protection over our local school system right now, because as we're finding out, it's not always the case where we can dial 911 and there's no guarantee we're going to get help. We have to go to the Lord first for our protection nowadays.
That's right.
Because as we've seen, there's no guarantee that help in the natural will come right away. We need to cry out to the Lord and say, Lord.
Well, we should have done this a long time ago
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah,
Right?
and so it's really, this book is really about going beyond just saying prayers. It's about creating this altar of prayer every day where we meet with the Lord, because, without that, we're not really taking time to hear what God is saying. And so without that, it's hard to know what to pray for.
Right. Joel, how does someone get a hold of your book? Where do they go and try to find to get a copy of your book?
My book, Speaking Life to the Nation, it's available on Amazon right now in paperback and Kindle. Also on my website that I have a new site launching soon, but they can go to joelyunt.com. So it's just my name.com, joelyunt.com. And there's a link that'll take them to Amazon right now. It'll go straight to Amazon, so they can get it from there.
Wonderful. And then they could also contact you if they have any questions. About
yeah,
anything?
absolutely.
Oh, that's wonderful, wonderful. Well, Joel, I'm so excited for your heart and just for prayer, to get people excited about praying and seeking the Lord. And I think it's so important. I think it's missing. And I think now with all these other things that are happening in America and around the world, I think it's pushing us to pray, and this book will help us to walk that out. So I have to ask on a silly side of things. Now, your dad, Bill, he plays the shofar.
Yeah.
Do you play the shofar?
I do not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, just wondering. Well, praise God. Well, I am so excited for you and your ministry. I can't wait to see what God has in store. Guys, listen up. Keep this guy on tap, because I tell you what, you're going to see God move in him and through him more than ever before. And we're so excited to know Joel. And again, just reach out to him on his website. Get his book. You always wonder what to give friends and family or whoever, church people. Get the book. Go on there and get that and buy like 5 copies. And you never know who you're going to run into who might need that book. So go ahead and get about 5 copies or so, or 10 or 20, whatever the copies are. And just go from there, and you will be surprised what a blessing.
And Matt, I just want to jump in here real quick and mention in recent weeks there have been government officials, those in authority, who have got a hold of this book. And there's someone who, they're in the state of Texas. I just received this message recently. They have been giving this book out to local government officials in the state of Texas. And this actually started with someone who they just won Secretary of State in South Dakota, I believe. And they asked about how to get the book, and I told them. And so all of a sudden, people in government are beginning to get a hold of this right now. And I just think it's really timely for people, because even people in government, they need to come into agreement with God's agenda above their own. And so,
can you imagine if our government officials go at that level in prayer and seek God's face, they'll be more successful in that than anything else that they have ever done. And God would get all the glory in that. So praise God. That's exciting, Joel. That's exciting. So if it's good for the government, the people that want to read the book, it's good enough for all of us. And so I encourage you to, guys, go out to his website and get his book, definitely. So praise God. So what's next, Joel? What's next? What's going on? Now I hear you might be in Texas. So let us know what's on the next itinerary there.
Yeah, absolutely. So the end of this month, the last week of July, I will be flying to Houston, Texas. I will be speaking at a home gathering there, but also going there for the purpose, I will be at the local Houston CTN TV station there for a TV interview.
Exciting.
And then like a week or two later, I'll be in Tampa, Florida for another CTN interview there in Tampa, Florida. And the end of August, I believe it's the 29th, like the very last day of August, I will be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at Cornerstone Television.
Yay,
so, I'm excited. I feel like this book is so timely right now. And, something simple that I just felt led to begin to write and compile the end of last year. And another thing, too, is I want to mention, it's really easy reading. Like, it's not... Some books, they're like 300 or 400 pages, and people feel intimidated, like, oh, I don't know some of these words, I don't understand. It's very easy on purpose, because it's to get people to begin to decree and declare out loud. And it's meant to be easy reading, and I feel like that's a key component that how God is really launching this book in the nation right now.
Praise God. And, another thing that you're doing, tell them about Spirit Fire, or Spirit Fuel, excuse me. And I think of fire instantly, I'm like, glory fire. Tell us about, what is that about?
Yeah, so every day, so about 7 years ago, I helped to start a online blog website called Spirit Fuel. And I just reached out to like 5 or 10 people I knew, and it's grown from there all these years. And so people submit prophetic words about the nation, hope, encouragement, and it's funny because the majority of the content that we receive comes in the night before. So like when we schedule it for the website the following day, or the email list the following day, it's literally has just arrived. And so it's truly orchestrated a lot by God. We don't pre-plan content a week or two ahead. It's just someone says, "Oh, I felt led to submit this," and it's amazing how things unfold. Even days before the overturning of Roe v. Wade took place, we sent out a prayer alert to pray against massive protests in large cities, and it's just a lot of examples where the timing was just God and God alone. So the website for Spirit Fuel is spiritfuel.me. That's spiritfuel.me. And so it's kind of like Spirit Fuel Me. So it's a different ending to a website.
Love it. I like that. That's awesome. That is awesome. Wow. We want to put that on there as well. And so there's just a lot going on. Joel, I appreciate, again, coming on with me and just sharing what God's doing in your ministry and through you and your book. And, man, it sounds really exciting. God is doing exciting things. And you know what, guys? If God can do it through Joel, he can do it through you. And so it's time for us. It's time for us to arise and be what God has called us to be. And so thank you, Joel. I appreciate your time, and blessings to you. And hopefully next time we'll hear some more things that are going on in your life and ministry.
Thank you so much.
Amen. All right. Well, blessings, guys. Hey, good to see you all. And we'll be having more interviews with different people. So keep a watch out. Hit your like button. Share with other people. That would be a blessing to other people, whether it be on Facebook or Twitter or whatever it may be. So just go ahead and do that and share that. Well, blessings to you. You all have a wonderful week. Praying for you and be praying for Joel in his journey. We'll see you guys.